Alright, so this will be a review of your quiz from 529. First question is asking us to simplify cosecant squared of theta, tan squared of theta, minus 1. So cosecant is 1 over sine. Tangent squared is sine squared over cosine squared. These cancel. And we just have 1 over cosine squared minus 1. So let's keep it just as 1 over cosine squared. We'll get a common denominator. And we get 1 minus cosine squared of theta over cosine squared of theta. And if sine squared plus cosine squared is 1, 1 minus cosine squared is sine squared. Sine squared over cosine squared is tangent squared. Alright, let's see. Second problem. We have secant of x over cosine of x minus tangent of x over cotangent of x. So we'll convert to sines and cosines. We have 1 over cosine of x divided by cosine minus sine of x over cosine of x divided by cosine of x over sine of x. So we'll keep change flip. We'll get 1 over cosine squared of x minus sine squared over cosine squared. And we know that sine squared plus cosine squared is 1. So 1 minus sine squared is cosine squared. Cosine squared divided by itself is 1. Alright, so the third one. Third one says we have cosine squared of x minus cosine squared of x secant squared of x. Let's factor out a cosine. I mean, really, we know that secant is 1 over cosine. So these cancel, and we just get cosine squared of x minus 1. Now that's not one of the options, so let's play around with it a little bit. I know that sine squared plus cosine squared is 1. So cosine squared minus 1 is equal to negative sine squared of x. And just make sure everything worked out here. So actually, cosine squared minus 1 is equal to negative sine squared. Yep, and that's the answer. So negative sine squared of x. Okay, let's finish this up. Number 4. I just want to double check this one. Something just doesn't feel right about it. Cosine squared minus 1 is negative sine squared. Yep, everything's okay. Alright, so number 4, we have 1 minus cosine over sine plus sine over 1 minus cosine. Let's get a common denominator, which will be sine times 1 minus cosine. So we'll multiply this by 1 minus cosine over 1 minus cosine. And this will be plus sine times sine of x. Top will be 1 minus 2 cosine of x plus cosine squared of x plus sine squared of x. Well, this is a Pythagorean identity. So we have 1 plus 1 could factor out a 2. And cancel out the same thing on top and bottom. So 2 over sine is the same as 2 cosecant squared of, or just 2 cosecant of x. And then our last one, number 5. Number 5 says we have 1 over 1 minus cosine plus 1 over 1 plus cosine. So let's get a common denominator, multiply top and bottom here by 1 minus cosine. Multiply here by 1 plus cosine. And we get 1 plus cosine plus 1 minus cosine over 1 plus cosine times 1 minus cosine. These cancel. We get 2 over 1 minus cosine plus cosine minus cosine squared. And if sine squared plus cosine squared is 1, then 1 minus cosine squared is sine squared. So the answer for this would be 2 cosecant squared of x. All right, that's it. Have a nice day.